longer I'm just gonna forget existence or that I've like hit these buttons. And at least my microphone's being registered this day. Oh god.
It begins.
Hi everybody, discussing tabletop. Look, I can speak English. I'm just happy I've got Momo at the appropriate volume, because apparently like that's what I forgot to do for one of the games, is to adjust volume post, streaming a video game. And I also have my microphone working, because that also happened one of the days. It decided to not use the microphone for OBS. Whatever.
Oof.
I don't know. Yeah, no. I love it when it does that, where it's like, that microphone that you told me to use? I'm not using it anymore. Anyway, it is a busy docket. Oh, I forgot to change that on there. Had the deeper discussion topic. I forgot to switch it in the docket. That's the way I do things. But anyway, as I'm doing that quickly, since I'm now remembering to do that, why don't we could just dive into what I was going to talk about. Kamigawa side stuff, plus something else they did, which can be discussed whether or not it is hated or loved.
Oh boy.
So yeah, I think we were talking about this a little bit before the show started.
Yeah.
Kamigawa has a billion side things.
It has a lot of side things, which is weird, but I'm not against it.
There's a 30-page manga. There's a visual novel.
Yeah.
And a soundtrack.
Yeah. There's a lot of odd things. And weirder is the soundtrack is actually really good, in my opinion.
I mean, like, I'll also have to check it out. The thing is, I'm assuming it fits the feel of what's going on there. I mean, the thing is, it looks as though it's like original stuff they did. I mean, there's literally a track called "One with Phyrexia," and "Lands of Kamigawa," so I'm guessing they composed stuff.
Yeah, it's the one with Phyrexia is about Tamio, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Because she's all Phyrexia now.
Yeah.
Which I don't know enough about that character to feel one way or the other.
It's the character I feel like is the most feeling of damaging, because it's the only planeswalker that has an actual family. So that's like, I'm like, that's kind of awful. Like a lot of the other characters, when you do that too, like, yeah, that's terrible, kind of things like that. Again, like, then it's supposed to be like that she kept her soul, so maybe they can reach her still or something, and that's like a... But then it's like also like, you can't... Can you go back to your family when you're a robot now? Like a cyber bionic robot? Yeah. Even if you, like, regain your, like, in quotation, like, the humanity or the mortality of your existence.
Yeah, like, it's weird, but I don't know enough about...
That's the thing is, like, my opinion is, I don't know if that's the correct character to choose for this kind of thing. I don't know what they're going for there, the storyline. If they're going for a darker storyline, I'm not against that, but they never have, like, even in their, like, in quotation, darkest timelines, like, consider things like, they killed off, what's-her-face in Theros, but she came back from the dead. Elspeth. And, everybody was defeated by Nicobolus on Amonkhet. But we were introduced to Amonkhet there, and it had an apocalypse, and there were survivors, and, in quotations, hope, so it's sort of like, they resolved everything in their one story most of the time. Yeah, they kind of go through these darker moments, but they resolve it quickly, They don't linger. Where this is like an ongoing lingering thing, and I'm like, if you're doing it overall, we'll see what they do. I mean, I'm curious. I'll leave them up to it. But yeah. A manga?
I think because this plane in its specific state is so aesthetically different from like everything in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
That might be like why they're doing a lot of this stuff. Because one, cyberpunk is a very hot genre right now.
Yeah.
Two, it has Shadowrun vibes, which is incredibly popular still. And the elf punk, which I learned is a term, is still a genre of fantasy that's growing in popularity.
That's an interesting thing that, like, I wouldn't think about it, but that does pertain to, like, certainly things like in Shadowrun. Like, in Shadowrun, they do have stuff related to, like, you know, of all, like, the meta types, other than just basic human meta type,
Yeah.
elves are the ones that are, like, liked the best, but they're also, like, almost put on a pedestal in Shadowrun. So I can see that, like, elf punk being a thing because of that, you know?
Apparently that's just the name of cyberpunk plus fantasy is elf punk.
That's...
Which is a term I learned recently.
Wow. That's, I always thought of it as more like a sci-fantasy, but I guess it's even there, it's like, that's an entirely different genre, too, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against, like, all this side stuff. I think it's cool. I haven't read the manga or the little novel. I might get around to it one day. I don't know. But I do hope they continue to do cool stuff like this with their more interesting planes that they're releasing. Because they also have that Demon Mafia plane.
Yeah. Oh God. That was when I was like, that sounds so cool. You know, Demon Mafia.
Like these two planes have or sets have been like the first thing in years to actually interest me for Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like this last year, other than like the D&D set, none of them really interested me. The two returns to Innistrad,
I don't really like Innistrad that much.
Strixhaven was okay, but it wasn't really that interesting in my book. It was like, okay, a little different, and I have to admit, the little bits of the story I picked up were a little bit more interesting, because I have to say, I like Lilana Vess as a character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's a very interesting character because of the duality of, like, she fell into darkness, and then she never was, like, fully embraced by it. You know, she's, like, she'd be kind of, like, I'd say she's chaotic neutral, but leans towards, like, a little bit of the evil, you know? She's always out for herself, and will do anything to, like, help herself, but she doesn't really, like, try to do terrible things, but she's also a necromancer, so it's like...
Yeah, I mean,
she summons
you can't really call yourself not somewhat evil if you're summoning the dead.
Yeah.
No matter where you're from, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you like, I know her storyline that she learned to be a necromancer because she was trying to save her brother's life, and rather than save his life when he was dying, she brought him back as undead.
It's a little bit messed up, you know?
Yeah. But she didn't know she was going to do that until it happened.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, a little redemption arc for that kind of thing where you're becoming a little bit, like, you're stepping back from the thing. Because, again, like, I feel like it's in most, you know, a lot of cultures, especially, I think we've talked about this in, like, D&D related stuff. Necromancy is oftentimes seen down upon, but in some places it's not, to a degree, depending on how it's used.
Yeah, like, it's subjective.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'm curious about is just Magic the Gathering in general, because it's been a very long time since I've delved into any of the storylines. How often does Phyrexia actually come up in sets these days?
It has just started. It appeared in the new Phyrexia block, and there have been hints at it in things like some of the Commander sets and two.
So what I'm wondering is, are they just going to do like another big Phyrexia set?
Maybe. They did, I think what they're going to do is they're going to basically I'm going to say they're probably going to have at least one set per Praetor, I'm thinking, that they're showing up. Because they had Vorinclex, the green Praetor, show up in the Viking set. And now they've had Jin Dataxius show up in Kamigawa. But the thing is, like, I can't remember the red Praetor. I can't remember his name off the top of my head because it's Sheldroth and Elishnorn, and I can't remember the red one off the top of my head. But the red one was like neutral because it turns out when you expose Phyrexian to red mana, it just makes them be like, you know, because it's red mana represents, you know, like freedom and stuff like that. So they're just like they came to the choice of like, we don't fucking care, you know. If you want to join us, great. If you don't, we'll just hang out here, do our thing. Turns out, red mana, not great for Phyrexians.
Apparently.
Mix them not try to murder you? But, yeah, so I don't know if he'll show up, and, Elish Norn apparently took over the plane at some point in the storyline, so I don't know if we'll have Elish Norn show up off-plane, because that's, the ruler of New Phyrexia currently.
Yeah.
And Sheldred was in a weird position, too, because the Black Praetor was, they were warring with each other for it constantly, so it's the two that you could show up have. I don't know if they'll have more of them. I don't know if they'll go to a new Phyrexian set at some point.
It'd be interesting if they did.
Yeah, because
the actual new Phyrexian set is a bit old at this point.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Koth is still theoretically at war with them, and they also have still that lady who's immune to Phyrexia, the transformation. So it's we're revisiting parts of the set with that world without actually revisiting that world. So yeah, but so yeah, for we got the manga, we've got a visual novel, which is a weird thing, and then we have the soundtrack. That's just with music they commissioned for it. I mean, this is a lot of side stuff to
The visual novel's free, so I might give it a go.
Yeah, it is free. That's the thing is, I'll link the visual novel in chat. You can. I can find the soundtrack. I got that too.
I think it exists on Amazon mostly.
I can give the. You can listen to it on YouTube though.
Yeah, and you can also listen to it on Spotify as well. It's up there.
Well, here's another thing that I did notice because I do subscribe. No, I don't actually. Do I? On my one account that I go on YouTube, because weird side tangent, because I have to upload stuff on my YouTube channel occasionally. I'm always logged onto that for YouTube, but on my phone I'm on my old YouTube account, which is not related to my channel. That one I was subscribed to Magic's channel, and they put out 2 kind of trailers for Kamigawa.
One was an anime trailer.
Yeah. Which...
I mean, I have opinions on that. One, it's the generic anime art style, which I find very boring, but that's just how anime is done now. And 2, I didn't like the song in it that much.
I thought it was okay.
But I like the cinematic trailer more.
Yeah, the cinematic trailer is a little bit more interesting, I think. I think the anime one does, without saying words, tells the story pretty well. Which I think the story is pretty much samurai ninja planeswalker pains for his childhood friend, girlfriend, who's the emperor of this place, who's apparently has problems with, who's a slider. Oh my god, she's sliders. That's a reference.
That is a reference.
If you don't know that reference, it was a sci-fi TV, science fiction TV series where some people had to go between alternate realities that they had to go at certain points in time, or they'd be stuck on that plane, and they have to find their way home. And the answer is they never find their way home. But that's besides the point, because later seasons of that show are terrible, but that's also besides the point. Anyway, yeah, she basically can't stay in a place for very long before she has to move on. Because, I don't know, that old chestnut of your planeswalker spark is messed up or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Man, I would like for more stuff like this to be more stuff for what they put out. I feel like there wasn't enough something for the Innistrad sets or those other sets last year,
Yeah, I mean, they also just released a lot of sets last year.
It was 5.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's too many. Granted, I think the 2 Innistrad ones were slightly smaller than
they were, and then they put them together, and it was kind of a bad product.
And it was a really bad product. When when I learned that, you know, you could get a pack of that put together set, and you'd have two of the same card because they had those same cards in both sets.
Yeah, they didn't take the duplicates out. It was, you know, really stupid.
That's just so bad.
Really not the best move.
I mean, like, I feel like they're trying to be like, forget everything that happened. Enjoy all this stuff here. Look, it's shiny.
Yeah. I'd like to see more stuff like this in the future. I mean, looking at this soundtrack, the fact that, one, like, they've actually went and hired, like, YouTube musicians who are very, very popular to do this kind of stuff, that's cool.
Yeah.
One of them, Jonathan Young, he's just the guy they hired to produce all the soundtracks, apparently. He's actually a pretty good musician.
Yeah. No, it's... I'm just...
Finally something I can be like, hey, Wizard of the Coast, you did a good job.
God, they sometimes do. I mean...
That's what makes the bad jobs so much worse. Sometimes they do really cool stuff like this, and then other times they release, like, Strixhaven book, and then it's bad.
I'm gonna say this here, because I want to move on to the other part of this. I don't hate any of the secret layers they're doing this time with their February one.
Let's see them.
I'll link this in chat. Now, they do include the Street Fighter one, but the thing is, I'm more open to their Worlds Beyond, since they've said in that, like,
this website's so bright.
Yeah, it is. They have white mode.
This Guile, he's a cool dude. That's like
because they're
Ryu. I don't know any of these other characters. I didn't play Street Fighter.
It's all Street Fighter 1. It's the original.
I've never really played Street Fighter.
I
was a Mortal Kombat person.
I don't think I played a lot of it. I think I played a little bit because of, like, a friend had it. But the thing is, like, I know because they said they're going to put out versions of stuff in, like, their, I can't remember what it's called now. They, like, the special card thingy that we talked about, that they're going to do, like, with the Walking Dead ones, that there'll be, like, magic versions of it.
Those things.
Yeah. See, my brain forgets a lot of stuff. And the words that I should be using, I don't remember. But there will theoretically be actual Magic card versions of these at some point in time.
At this list, one, the little, like, chibi.
Yeah.
Is that the term? That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, they're little adorable chibis.
I really do like that one. Your Johnny is pretty good.
Look,
so is Thorin.
It's just so chibi Soren with that, like, look on his face. It's just
pretty good.
It's so good. It's like, I'm adorable, I'm adorably edgy.
There's Cameo and this one. I don't recognize this, like, bull guy.
He was from the
I don't recognize what set he's from.
I know what set he's from. He was a pirate captain on the set that had the, you know, Inquisitors and Aztec people.
Yeah, that weird one.
Yeah, I'm not remembering the plane's name at the top of my head. Where they got the storyline-wise, where they got this weird artifact that prevents planeswalking and brought it to Ravnica for Bolos's murder spree. And then they disabled it and called it a day. And, you know, solved that entire War of the Spark thing. I know of Ashiok by name, but I don't know a lot about Ashiok other than
I know he's from, like, War of the Spark stuff.
Yeah, and, like, apparently, like, eats dreams or something.
I don't offhand fully... Yeah, he's from War of the Spark, which is said I don't think I played.
I haven't looked into it a lot. I got a box and stuff of it, but it's one of the sets that, like, I'm behind on making, like,
yeah, War of the Spark is... 2019, I definitely didn't play War of the Spark. I may have saw it on my brief, like, look into Magic Arena, but...
Look, they have a Johnny Mentor of Heroes. You can gain 100 life. That's all that matters.
Yeah. There he is.
I mean, and then they got stuff featuring their, like, anime version of Kaito, which is their other planeswalker. That's fine. they got I think a Japanese artist that has some really interesting artwork of some.
It's very traditional style Japanese art, which is really cool.
The neon stuff is kind of neat. The thing is, I'm going to say about the neon ink foil. They say I would want to see how that neon pops in reality.
Yeah, I want to see it like an actual photograph of it.
Yeah,
That's what I want to see. But I also do like that the name at the top, that's a Torii gate. I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just a very good design.
Then they've got the weird 80s like graphics one.
Oh, the synthwave lands.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm like, it's just it's so weird.
They're not pretty, but synthwave often isn't, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah, like it reminds me of like the 80s like rendering of something like Tron or something. It reminds me of. I think that's what synthwave is supposed to be doing. Then there's the really like traditional Japanese style like I don't even. There's supposed to be special lands or something. It's all in Japanese.
I love that kind of art style. Like, this is one thing I like. Release this as like a fucking print or something that you can buy for your wall, because these are so pretty.
Yeah. And then
it's a shame I can't read them.
Yeah. Then cards with manga art, which is they're just fine. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, they're not awful. I recognize a few of those cards.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this. I'm not looking at what cards are available in here right now, and that does make a difference sometimes to some people. I'm looking at this aesthetically right now because I feel like that's the big thing that I think Secret Lair should be, is aesthetic.
Yeah. It really should be an aesthetic thing.
Like, this is like, we're selling special promos of special art. I'm not against that ever. If you want to sell special art shit where it's bling for you, you know, granted, a good cheaper reprint of something might be cool too, but I feel like first and foremost, if it's good bling, I'm okay with that.
I mean, like the Planeswalkers one, they're Planeswalkers. Planeswalkers are just kind of always useful.
Yeah.
And Planeswalkers can be very expensive, so $30 for 5 of them, that's not bad.
I think one of them was only like one of the rares from World of Sparks, like Yashak, so it's not as good. But the other ones are all like pretty good. Like Ajani, I think got up there in price. I don't know if it is right now.
Johnny still might be super expensive.
Yeah, that's the only one I knew was expensive from back in the day.
Let's see if I can find its price somewhere. Yeah, you're from this set. $11 currently.
So it's not too expensive.
Yeah, its price has gone down a bit.
But still, like, you know, $40 and you're getting that in a specialized art and some other ones. Like, it again, price-wise, give or take whether or not you're getting a bang for your buck. But again, it's like, I think that's one of those things about Secret Lairs.
The art is definitely more of the appeal.
The art's more of the appeal, and I feel like the big thing is, do you like the art? That's like the first question. Do you want the art? Are there cards you could use? And like, you know, can you use all the cards? I mean, like, you can answer all these questions, and then that kind of figures out if you want a Secret Lair. But
yeah,
I feel like as much as I've like busted them in the past, or we've talked about them in the past, like some of them have been pretty poor. It's not a bad selection.
Like this Kaito one, I'd use these because I admittedly I play a lot of blue.
I play some blue too.
I like blue. People don't like the people play blue, but I think that they just need to stop complaining about Counterspell, because honestly, it's not that bad.
Look, I have to admit, I play pure. I've got 5 main blue decks. I've got my pure blue, where the object of it is to draw my entire deck and then win the game.
Yeah, that's fair.
A blue-red, where I just steal all your creatures. A blue-black, where I make sure all of your permanents go to your hand and then you discard them, and/or your deck gets milled out. A blue-green, which is just kind of weird and slightly annoying. The blue-white, which is just like, it shuts you down, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the blue, black, no, blue red. I said blue green, blue white. Yeah, that's all of them. Yeah, so those are the 5. And also, like, I have an artifact deck, which usually plays more blue than most others.
I used to run, when I played actively, a blue-black. This is back when Infect was a thing.
Ooh.
I don't know if that's a thing. I used to have a blue-black Infect, like, proliferate deck.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of that one was a nasty deck to play against someone.
Yep.
Infect is a nasty mechanic.
It hasn't shown up again, but I still have some stuff that uses it, and it's technically people can. It's just now only modern or legacy or stuff. But I mean, my main decks are like either vintage or legacy technically. So
I would have nothing in whatever is it modern? That's the
modern is anything from Mirrodin on, because it's the modern format of cards.
It's the one that's like it has to be the current sets.
That's standard.
That one's standard. Yeah, I can't do anything in standard. I don't have any cards that are in standard.
I think I have the D&D set, but I actually have some of the boxes, but like I've never built a deck in modern. I've sometimes, if I'm on top of things, will build a deck that is technically standard, but like I don't ever play it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like out of all these secret layers in this list, like the Planeswalker one, I could see myself using. I like Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
The Kaito one, I could use some of those cards, and if I knew what these Neon Dynasty ones actually look like in person, I could see myself buying them. They're pretty. They're cards I could use.
The only ones of the pictures of the floating world I know about is the Mosswort Bridge. I think I know which one that is. I think I've used that one before, but it's more of like I had a copy of it, so I used it somewhere. You know, I don't know. It's interesting cards.
One with Hideaway. I remember this one.
Yeah, it was the Hideaway one.
The Hideaway land, yeah.
I have not looked at the Street Fighter ones, but again, like, they got weird abilities, so I don't know if they're gonna be like how they're gonna translate to a Magic card version of them when they do that. Again, like, I'm more optimistic, but I haven't seen any of those yet, so that's why I'm kind of like, cool. Your Worlds Beyond stuff is fine. You know, it's its own thing.
As long as they don't do too many of these weird like Secret Lair X this IP, I think it's fine.
Yeah, like
because they did a bit too many of those.
I mean, we've had 4 of them now.
I'm sorry, when they did the Fortnite one now was when it was too many.
Yeah, I mean, we still have the Warhammer Commander sets and
like,
the Lord of the.
God, I forgot about the Warhammer one. That's gonna be so. How do you translate Warhammer?
It's 40K.
To a PC? Yeah, it's not even fantasy. Fantasy would be easy because
Yeah.
nothing is like stupidly powerful. 40K, a single ship can blow up a goddamn planet.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not really an easy translation. Like if they did Age of Sigmar, it probably would have been better. But like,
Yeah, they would have done. But Age of Sigmar is not popular.
yeah, and I mean, like again, like I think the Worlds Beyond set, the Lord of the Rings one, that's the only one I'm like, okay.
I understand Lord of the Rings set. It makes sense. Lord of the Rings isn't like outside of the named wizards. There's nothing super powerful in Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it nothing feels like out of place there. Like even like I'm gonna have to say like Street Fighter here. They're just dudes with weird powers.
They're just people who like have weird powers and can just beat the shit out of everyone.
Yeah. See,
that
like
just exists in Magic the Gathering.
I mean, they do have Zangief wrestling a bear.
They do have things.
But he's wrestling a bear. Look, I'll give you that's actually pretty good.
And that is, I do like that. What can Zangief actually do? Launch turn, he's indestructible.
Deals damage to a creature. That creature was dealt excess damage that turn. Creature sacrifice a non-creature, non-land permanent. Oh, so rather than trample over, if it overdoes the toughness of something, then it has to have someone sacrifice. That's kind of a neat ability.
That's pretty cool. I'd like to see that on an actual Magic card.
Yeah.
That might also just be on an actual Magic card, and I don't know.
I don't know.
I genuinely don't know. There's a lot of Magic cards, and a lot of them have abilities I don't remember.
Like, I mean, like, they could either rename or just have these.
You could very easily reprint these.
Yeah.
They don't seem just looking at it, they don't seem like really bullshit or specific. I could see just a generic creature having what Zangief has.
Yeah. Yeah, so like definitely there's some interesting nothing I'd have to read through all of them, but like as we're reading this one here, I'm like, that doesn't sound bad. That sounds like a very reasonable you know, like rare ability or something. A legendary ability.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they're all like that, that's the other thing I like. If they just feel like other Magic cards, I'm okay with that. You know, I gotta be honest. Feel like the rest of the cards don't feel like something like it's cool, but people aren't going to be like diving head over heels. They might just come up with a cool idea for it or something. I don't know.
Yep.
Complain. Anyway, we could talk about Munchkin briefly.
Oh, hell yeah, Munchkin. Everyone's favorite game.
Honestly, this is something that when I saw that they did this, I wanted to talk about it for a minute because I'm like, I kind of like this. It's for the base set. It's another one of this like basic Munchkin silliness. They have a petting zoo where you can like summon monsters or fight things and stuffing, and like, you know, I'm like, that's
fine.
That's classic Munchkin. I don't mind expansions like this.
Yeah, that's mostly that's fine. Like, out of everything I've seen of Munchkin recently in the last God knows how long, 'cause I used to play Munchkin in high school a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This is fine.
I mean, I like the snake with a sword. It's a mostly harmless snake.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
They show off some nice cards here. The obligatory tiger photo where you skin a level with a tiger, or the fuzzy bunny where you can't sacrifice it to a monster because that would make you the monster.
Exactly.
See, like, I like stuff like this that they have.
Yeah, that's genuinely fine. But, like, tone it back on the releases a little bit, please.
What the hell is this?
I don't... It's weird how much Munchkin just gets released.
They release too much, I think, is what it is.
They really do.
They need like a second or a third product line that they can switch between them. If they were released less, I think I would feel better about this.
Yeah, it's definitely just overload of this one specific game.
Yeah, I think that's the big issue here. And I'm like looking, and there's a May 2022 another thing that they're putting out, and I see it at the bottom, the goats thing. Why goats?
Oh, it's just weird. Steve Jackson's got to keep the lights on somehow, I guess.
I guess. I don't know. Steve Jackson Games, please. I don't know what you're doing. Just be better about it, I guess. Want to talk about something nice? This is something nice.
Oh, nice things.
Probably, I'm gonna say probably nice. Since I've integrated Kickstarters with everything else now. There's a Kickstarter for an adventure path for D&D, or not for Pathfinder 2e.
Oh, 1 to 20.
That's 1 to 20.
I didn't usually do that.
Yeah, they rarely do 1 for 20. Most of the time
they usually stop at 15.
Yeah, which kind of feels bad sometimes because you're like, I kind of feel like I want that 20th level.
But it's like, the thing is, once you get, honestly, in a lot of these tabletop reviews, the game stops being balanced after like level 10.
Yeah, it becomes harder to deal with.
In 5e, the game just starts to break down after level 10 because the players are way too strong and monsters just have too much HP.
Mm-hmm. Look, I'm gonna say there's two reasons why there's never combat in Children of Wrath. I gave them some weird abilities, and I have no idea how that balances everything out.
Yeah.
And I can't balance it. I thought it was creative at the time because magic items aren't really a thing as much, you know. But
yeah, some of their abilities, I don't know how that mechanically functions, honestly. Mm-hmm. Outside, like if I look at actual mechanics, it feels weird.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course, you know, Carrion also picked the actual worst multi-class you could.
She is
D&D 5e.
Wizard Barbarian.
You can't use your spells if you're raging.
Wizard Barbarian.
Actually, just the worst multi-class you could pick.
Mm-hmm. Whatever. But, the Scaldwell Blight is an adventure path, that's being made. It's funded. I'm going to tell you that for the Kickstarter. It got 11 more days. It does from 1 to 20th level. And a demon lord has invaded the far northlands of the stalwart barbarians, righteous priests, and mysterious fae. You can cover the demon lord's many plots, vanquishing his minions, save the North Fells from corruption and destruction, save the land. So pretty. I'm not going to say it's like a pretty basic story, but it's kind of like the basic kind of story.
Fantasy, right? You know, there's a big invading threat. Go deal with it.
You know, and it's probably like your kingdom's to the south of this savage land, and you're like, well, if the savage land falls, then, you know, our kingdom's threat, so I guess we got to go help out north and, you know, to this wild lands. And
Game of Thrones, if they actually helped the north.
But in this case, the help is like 5 dudes that like
five people.
5 people that perhaps along the way will gain some experience and learn to be like legendary heroes if they're lucky.
Probably better written than the ending of Game of Thrones as well.
Did he actually finish writing that, or is it just the?
No, just the show. It's so bad.
Like I've always said I never really got into Game of Thrones because the first season threw me off, and like this last season, like hearing how bad it is and how much it's ruined everything.
So it has basically caused the franchise to just disappear from modern culture.
Wow.
Like, that's how bad it was.
I mean, like, here's like chapter 20. There's like 2 CR20 Lenorms. Damn.
It's pretty spooky.
I don't know if you're supposed to fight them or not. God.
Well, it's an encounter right there.
Yeah, it's an encounter.
You could theoretically kill like one of them. Although I assume.
I guess it's like
how it depends how far into chapter 20 the campaign is, I guess, right?
It feels like this is like the final thing, because they're saying, like, reading this little like page here, they've also learned the Blighted Grove as the demon lord extends his corruption across the North Fells. Confront the Tree Reaver.
You're probably level 20 at this point.
Yeah, or close to it. Like 18, 19. Well, with two of those things, I'd say like 19, 20, probably.
Yeah, you're like pretty strong.
Yeah.
Also, you also have a shit ton of magical items, because that's how Pathfinder gives you a lot of power.
Yeah.
Which I actually kind of prefer, if I'm honest. Compared to 5e's, you get 3, and that's it.
I feel like Pathfinder 2e does it a little better, because, like, I think there's a magic item overload that occurs in 1e.
Oh, yeah. There's so many slots you have to have filled that unless you're being handed them, you're never going to fill all those slots.
And honestly, there's a lot of those slots where they never had enough items for them, so it's like there's like 1 or 2 decent items, and then a lot of like, well, this might be neat. And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of magic items that are like that. The this might be neat magic item, which I mean, like, I'm considering, you know, speaking of like, you know, Pathfinder, since we've been doing Buccaneers. With your stuff that's going to be happening this next Wednesday, I'm considering either rolling or maybe just giving you some things that'll be like, this might be helpful or neat to your characters at the level you are, with ratings and stuff.
Lightning more mage blood.
Look, you know, Lightning can do that without the entire blood thing. Lightning can just go buy a scroll and copy it in.
Now you gotta be weird about it.
Lightning insists on... Look, Lightning insists on being weird.
You gotta be actually weird about it and just drink someone's blood.
Oh, God.
Not evil, by the way. Totally neutral.
I mean, you guys skirt the line oftentimes.
Well, we're not good people, and I feel like you can't do this adventure path as good people.
It's very hard
because
to.
It's pirates.
Yeah.
Pirates aren't good people.
Yeah, I feel like Like, the adventure path screams it's chaotic neutral, because it doesn't really want you to go full evil either. It screams like, you know, you're gonna be, like, in that, like, middle ground, where...
You're gonna do some good and you're gonna do some evil. You know, sometimes you're slaughtering a village, sometimes you're saving people.
Yeah. Granted, after you save them, you're like, so, you want to join a pirate crew?
You want to join a pirate crew? If not, you maybe pay us. You know, we saved you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at least you don't, like, super slaughter villages. Like,
no, we only kill them until they surrender.
Mm-hmm. Which
they steal all their shit.
You do steal all their shit.
Or the fighter just pastes people occasionally.
He does paste people. I mean, God. He pasted 2 people this last session.
There's a smear on the side of the tower.
We'll have to talk about that. We'll talk about that. But another adventure, like, I have to say, like, I did a non-Paizo adventure path, and it had a few issues, but, like, it was pretty good, was Way of the Wicked, which was a lawful evil adventure path. It was fun. Like, my main issues were they did give some, like, optional stuff for, like, you could become a vampire, or you could become a lich or something.
That just complicates it a little too much for me.
Well,
for my personal taste.
Well, the other thing is, our DM used retraining rules, so some people retrained a few feats to, like, skip out some of the worst parts of the vampire feat chain line, because it's, like, 5 feats.
Does make it a little better.
Yes. So they were able to, like, go to the 4th feat where you're finally, like, which I think the 4th one, because you're, like, losing constitution and hit points up into the 4th one, where it's like, now you have no constitution and are considered, like, a minor undead, you know? And you use, like, other things, and I think you use your charisma for your hit points, because that's what undead do. So yeah, they skip through a lot of that bullshit.
I think that's a good way to do it. That's the problem I have with Pathfinder in general, is there's a lot of feats, and it's, in most cases, not possible to do a build you want to do, because you don't get enough of them.
I mean, I will tell you, it made Blaze's character even more unkillable, because he's already an AC whore, and
nice.
And it just, like, because it gives you, like, more dexterity and natural armor, it's just like, have an extra 8 AC, you're already an AC whore, you know? And it changed Joe's character from glass cannon to cannon.
Hell yeah.
You know, because it's like, oh, hey, this bonus, like, 8 AC. Oh, I'm sorry, it was probably, like, 9 for him because he was a monk. So he was I run up, punch things, and maybe I die because I have no AC or health or anything, and now it's like, I have a lot of that now. I have defenses now.
Yeah, I've only ever done a Paizo adventure path for Pathfinder. I've never delved into the non-Paizo stuff.
I think that Way of the Wicked was the only one I've really done, and, like, I've done a bunch of the adventure paths, either run them or play in them, and honestly, like, the Paizo ones, mixed bag.
They really are, especially for the earlier they are, the more mixed they are, in my opinion.
Yeah, they fixed things as they went along, and it's how much they move from standard fantasy. I feel sometimes they do standard fantasy very well.
Yeah.
Like Rise of the Rune Lords, I might want to run that one as an adventure path, because honestly, it's fun, and it's just box standard fantasy. You go fight, like, some goblins, you go fight some, like, a few undead here, you go fight some ogres, you call it a day. Maybe some cultists, go on an adventure. Nothing really stupid, where, like, you know...
No Slosh Karamak.
No Slosh Karamak. No, they don't have that. Respectful.
No one should ever have that.
They could have other adventure paths that are as bad as that. I haven't read through all of them.
Well, they probably do. There's a lot of adventure paths for first edition.
I feel like there's some more of them I do want to run at some point in time, but, like, I'll kind of, like, intersperse them with other stuff too. I've really been enjoying Buccaneers of the Shackled Sea.
I have to. The only time I didn't enjoy Buccaneers was when I was in, like, a real shit mood last week from work, and I was like, I'm just gonna chill and not really do that much this session.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's... real life can definitely bring yourself to a game.
But I have genuinely been enjoying Buccaneers. It's definitely a very different kind of game than I'm usually in. I don't play a lot of games where I get to be like a chaotic neutral disaster.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and like it's trying to do first edition right, and I think that's gotten me some complaints about Pathfinder Kingmaker, where like I'm playing through that and I'm like, wow, it turns out when you don't have a GM to balance out some of the bullshit of Pathfinder first edition, there's issues.
There's a lot of bullshit in first edition.
Yeah, like they fixed some of that bullshit in second edition. I mean, they fixed a lot of it when they went to D&D 5e, that kind of bullshit of that kind of system. But 5e fixed too much of that bullshit and like went the other direction.
Yeah, 5e did some weird stuff. I think second edition did enough to fix things. From my very limited experience with it, I think it's generally a little bit better of a system. One, because it's actually like a modern system and not shackled to a corpse of a dead system.
Yeah. I will say, for Buccaneers, you folks have like 3 to 5 sessions before you be at the end of the second season.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, because if this next session will set you up for heading to Mancatcher Cove. Mancatcher Cove is technically the end of the book, and it's not huge. I'm going to tell you that.
I'm going to get money, maybe.
I mean, there's supposed to be treasure there.
So I can make my gun.
Yeah. But we can talk about that a little bit more later. Let's talk about another Kickstarter that is... It's Deep Rock Galactic, the board game.
I like that game. I like Deep Rock Galactic. It's a fun game.
It's a board game.
I could see a board game being pretty fun.
It's gotten $2 million on its Kickstarter.
Shit. That's a lot.
They've nearly hit 10 times what they were expecting with 11 days to go.
Wow.
I do not know if they have like...
Oh, it's miniatures too. I love miniature games.
Yeah, let me see.
Miniature board games are like my favorite kind of board game.
They haven't updated the unlocks, and they go to... they have gotten to a... oh, no, I see they have, because it's in... what kind of money is it in? It's in...
I think that's the euro?
Yeah, I think that's euro. So 1.87. They do have more things to unlock on their thing. So they've got to like... They do have like up to 2.5 million euro or 2.84 dollars. So I mean, like, they have at least kind of been ready for more of this stuff, but like, honestly,
the last 3 are work in progress. They just don't technically have them yet.
Yeah, I mean, like they're like, fuck, we might actually get there. I mean, that's one of those things, is like when you get something like this, Deep Rock Galactic it's fun. I like it.
It's a really good game that I haven't played enough of, honestly.
Like, you know what we should do is, like, you, me, Blaze, and Umber should sit down and play some of it.
We should, yeah. I love the team so much.
Blaze is playing a shit ton of it, but the thing is, Blaze is kind of a guy that can play on his own. Yeah. He's also okay with, like, playing, like, with randos online, which he says is a really good community, which I'm glad with. I was talking about this the other day, that I'm not good with that kind of thing.
I'm the kind of person, if it's, like, a game designed to be multiplayer co-op, I can't play it alone. I get bored.
Yeah.
I hate playing with randos, because I spent many years doing that with Siege and Dota, and it's just made me hate people.
I really don't like people to begin with, even before, like, that kind of thing. So, like, yeah, I'm not a big on randos. So, like, a good time where, like, get 4 of us and play some more. And I could work on my one engineer, which is the only character I have, and he could get better.
I forget what I think I was playing the drill arm guy.
Ah, that's a pretty good one.
It's the one I was playing before when I played the game.
I was making platforms and was it shotgunning things? I think shotgunning things, and I was fine with that. I don't know what else I did. I can't remember, honestly. It's been a while since we played.
This Ghost Ship game sounds familiar.
Ghost Ship Games. I do not know.
Is that the actual developers, or is Mood the developers of the game?
We could.
I think
Mood
Ghost
Publishing
Ship might be the actual.
Yeah, Ghost Ship might be the
game.
actual thing. Ghost
Yes, it is.
Ship
That's why.
Games.
That's why it's familiar.
Mood.
I've
It's
never heard of Mood Publishing.
Mood Publishing. Oh yeah, let's find out. Mood Publishing.
What products you got? You got books, apparently.
Rise of the Necromancers is a board game they have.
Never heard of it. Heard of Fall of the Gods. That's one I have heard.
I have heard of Fall of the Gods before, yeah.
I think why both these names are a little familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of the Necromancer thing.
I feel like the thing is, it sounds like this might be their biggest project.
Probably is, honestly. And like this kind of game is probably very easy to translate into a board game, honestly.
Yeah. You're exploring for resources to gather up to complete missions while dealing with bug monsters and fighting them as a team. Yeah. You know?
Very simple.
I mean, honestly, yeah. I like translate it into this style of like a miniatures game with like this little like kind of like board you set up or something, like this cave board where you can explore different areas of the cave. That seems neat. Cool.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I don't know what much else to say about this other than,
You know, I've come around on video game board games recently. Having played mostly the Resident Evil ones, I now believe they can be good.
I think it depends on a couple of things. One, how easy is the game to translate? There are plenty of video games like Deep Rock Hero translates to a miniatures game like this pretty easily, you know? Yeah. Other ones probably pretty more difficult to translate to games.
Resident Evil shockingly translated really well into a board game because of how the movement works and how like the turns work. You can do like the thing where you just walk around the zombies. You don't have to fight shit.
Mm-hmm.
You just walk around them.
Because you can avoid them, and that's good. Like I think it's like
a core mechanic of Resident Evil.
Yeah, is just juking the crap out of them, being like, nope, not fighting you. But yeah, I think it's also with this, like, you know, I think the board game renaissance that happened in the last 10 or so years has definitely got to the point in time where we're good enough with board games to do these kind of things.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing, is like if I look back 10 years or so ago, like this renaissance really hit its stride with things like Kickstarter and stuff, I think, when it became a big thing that we could do a lot of.
Kickstarter's definitely helped a lot with board games.
But we were having like the beginning of it like back in the early 2000s, but now that we've really hit this, there are so many people out there that can get these projects out here that can test the waters for things, see what people want to do, and we can do these decent, you know, board games based on video games or other IPs, you know, well. So Modiphius. I'm going to talk about a little bit of something from Modiphius.
Modiphius, huh?
Uh-huh. They released Siege of the Citadel crossover book in PDF form. It's a crossover book between their Siege of the Citadel board game and the Mutant Chronicles RPG. So, you know, that's kind of neat.
That's pretty neat, yeah.
You know, I'm curious as to how well they cross over. Is it meant to be an RPG version of the stuff that happens in the book or in the board game, or is it supposed to be like you kind of use both? I'm not sure. They don't really.
It's not really easy to tell from these.
They say
images here.
Yeah, a 83-page supplement. Rules and guidance that converts materials from the board game to use in the RPG, such as character sheets for 18 legendary characters. So it sounds a little bit more of the latter, where it's like adapting board game information to the thing, but I'm And so you do need the Mutant Chronicles core rulebook to play it. And they say most of the content can be used without the knowledge of or components from the Siege of the Citadels board game. But that also means they probably give optional stuff that maybe you can add some RPG elements to the Siege. So, like, I understand this. It's like most of the time it's easier to translate the stuff to the RPG, but...
Yeah, usually.
But I guess adding some elements to the board game might be cool, too.
Yeah.
Modiphius is being continues to be creative.
Yeah. Yeah, Modiphius usually does pretty decent stuff.
I was going to talk about this later, but we could talk about the other Modiphius thing now. I don't know if they've done this yet, because I can't remember. They might have. We might have talked about one. They released an actual adventure for one of their RPGs, something they don't do a lot of. They do it here and there. But for Conan...
I think we talked about...
Wasn't there, like, one of the setting things that had an adventure or something?
Yeah, one of the settings for Conan had a little adventure with it.
Yeah. This is, like, the Shadow Source's epic campaign for it.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess a big Conan movie or book or something. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's see here. It does require the Conan core bull book, and you get a PDF upon purchase. Of course you do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They're good at that. Suitable for 2 to 6 character as either the beginning of their heroic careers or battle-hardened veterans. So I guess they have rules for doing both.
Yeah, like, this is the thing with Conan. I'm always shocked to just learn that there's more to Conan than the 80s movie.
For me, it's the 2 80s movies and the animated series, which, I mean, I really liked the animated Conan the Adventurer. It was silly, but also adventurous, and, you know, the right bit of silly and action. It was 90s. Very good 90s.
Yeah.
But there's so much to this world.
There's a lot of Conan, apparently. The series was made in 1932.
I knew about more of it because I remember I think there's a comic book series even too, and I remember
it is
like in a comic shop seeing Conan comics or something when I was looking through them.
It's wild.
I think that also dates me as old because I was at a comic book store looking through comic books.
Those don't really exist anymore. Well, they do, but they sell mostly not comic books.
Yeah, they really do. Like, you don't find those boxes of just random comic books you can page through to look for the one volume you're looking for.
It's a very dated thing. I mean, it's like a video store, right? Those don't really exist anymore.
No.
Unless they're like the little box you go rent a video at.
Yeah, and you're renting like
they're like outside a grocery store.
Yeah, the red box where it's Blu-rays. They're like, rent a Blu-ray.
Yeah, DVDs don't exist anymore.
No, they don't really. I don't know if they do or not.
Not as really a format for like mass release.
Yeah, but I mean, like a campaign is cool. I would like to see more products like this for any RPG because honestly,
I would see them do one for Fallout.
Yes, I highly agree.
I want to run Fallout 1 because it's actually really well made. It's a bit like Star Trek, but a little more action based, which I think is actually pretty good. The very long rule book it has, because they do actual rule books where they just pack everything into a single book, which I like. Has a little adventure in it. I think that they could do a big adventure.
I think the thing about it is, the small adventures do give you an idea of gameplay. But to give you an idea of how, like, an actual campaign works, because adventures are one thing, we have campaigns we play. Those campaigns could be a little short, long, you know, they vary. But most adventures are more than just a singular adventure. And you need some kind of example of that sometimes to be like, oh, this is how you guys imagine your gameplay. Now, granted...
Reading through the rulebooks of the Fallout one, it kind of wants to be an action survival system.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's intended, because I don't have an example of more than an adventure that takes place over the course of a day.
Yeah. You need those examples to give you an idea of how it all works. And the unfortunate thing is sometimes we don't get those examples as much. And we want them, so it's sort of like, it's the one thing I do have to complain about, like, firstly, for Star Trek, which they do. I have an idea how a Star Trek mission works because they provide those. How would a, like, in quotations, series work?
How would, like, a Star Trek, running your own Star Trek show, how would that work? Because Star Trek is Adventure of the Week most of the time.
Yeah. Which...
all the episodes are usually unrelated.
But you can have, like, an ongoing storyline of something that goes in between these different adventures that some of them are more related to than others.
I think the way you would do it is you'd have more of, like, a personal player narrative story versus a big overarching story. Because big overarching stories aren't really Star Trek's thing.
Yeah.
From what I understand. So it had to be, like, some kind of story related specifically to the ship itself and the people on it.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than a big system-spanning epic adventure, because I'll be honest, Star Trek, it's not very epic. It's a Western. Star Trek is a Western.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think you almost saw, like, it's a Western at different ages. Like,
Yeah.
early Western, where it's, like, much more of a savage land, is, like, something like original series, while Next Gen is a lot more...
Taming of the West.
Yeah,
like
Taming of the West.
Tamed
Yeah. So there's still, like, those outlaws on the on the outskirts, but you might be, like, in like Carson City or something, the big city that's still like a Western city, but it's still like it's like on the cusp of, like, becoming civilized, that kind of thing, where there's still a little bit of that dirt and grit below the surface. I feel like that's the kind of differences between them. Or you're more like exploring the West kind of thing, which is kind of Voyager, yeah, definitely. So, a Conan campaign book, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm glad they're doing more stuff for Conan, because I like Conan. I've never played the RPG, but I like the character.
Honestly, it's another 2D20 system, and their 2D20 system is pretty good.
2D20 stuff is really good.
So, it's another one I want to try out some of their other 2D20s definitely at some point in time.
I will run Fallout one day when I have the energy.
Mm-hmm. They have a Deadlands book. When was the last time you heard about a new Deadlands book?
It's been a while.
Yeah. So they're putting up on Kickstarter. It's a new setting material and accessories for it. Hell on the High Plains. Ooh. It is funded, of course, because they only asked for 3,000, and people were like, "Hold my beer!"
Hey, Deadlands, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm. With the playing card system.
So long.
Yeah. How long happens? It's a 192-page expansion. They're making a new set of sturdy die called die-cut Deadlands Pawns, a chase deck model after their successful Pathfinder for Savage World chase deck.
Deadlands is, like, compatible with Savage World now.
Yeah. 12 new archetypes, new combat map features, a sturdy new collector's box, magnet locks for all of your Deadlands stuff. So they are providing a lot with this campaign.
I love these, like, because it's like I just love looking at the art that they provide, and how, because it's obviously it's like somewhat fantastical.
Mm-hmm.
I just love this image of, like, a Japanese monk lady and then a cowboy going to go beat some people up next to a train. Yeah,
the wrecked train. Or wait, the Nebraska discover like secret beneath the underwater, like the weird submersible.
Submarine. Or fighting a gator man.
Oh, the gator man's really weird. Like, the submarine, at least, like, because they sort of had things close to that developed during the Civil War, and if we're talking, like, late 1800s.
I learned this. The first submarine was in the Revolutionary War.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that recently.
Yeah, it's that old. it didn't really work. Like, the Civil War ones didn't really work either.
No, it didn't work, but the concept was there.
Yeah, so, like, as weird as that is, and seemingly fanciful, because it's, like, the late 1800s, I can see them, you know, some inventor being like, I've developed enough of a submarine that it kind of works.
It works enough.
Mm-hmm. The Gator Man is a little weird.
It's like a furry gator man, kind of. He's got, like, arm fur.
Werewolf Gator Man? Yeah. Is it a Gator Man that's also a werewolf?
Half man, half gator, half wolf.
God. Yes. High Plains Drift. The amount of stuff you get for the $500 pledge. Just look at that fucking pile of shit that they give you.
They just, like, that's so much stuff.
Do you want everything Deadlands that's ever existed?
Yeah,
here you go.
All the Deadlands. I've never played Deadlands. It's always seemed to me something that's a little, like, a little bit weird.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how much they have on the, I remember they used to use that playing card system. I don't know if they've stepped back with it with the Savage World stuff.
I genuinely don't know.
Where, like, you could, like, draw or use like, I just remember that was a really weird system that they had, and maybe, like, an alternate system might not be bad, but
I think the deck is still a thing.
It's still a thing.
I think it's still a thing.
Well, like, I've always considered, like, using things like, at least, like crit, or if I was ever going to use, like, crit or botches as, like, bonuses in a game, using the crit or botch decks, because they're just weird for Pathfinder, you know? Where, like, with you critical, also something weird happens. Or if you, like, botch, also something weird happens, but it's, like, drawn from a deck.
I always find that idea is, like, cool, but it can just slow things down a little too.
That's the problem, it can.
Yeah.
I agree on that one. So, hey, a Deadlands product. Good on them.
Deadlands, they still exist.
Yeah, no.
In quite a long time.
Yes. Hey, this one drew my attention because it's a neat idea for a book to add something to your game. Elven Renaissance.
Ooh, Elven Renaissance. A lot of Kickstarters.
Yeah, a lot of Kickstarters. Honestly, that's what... And the thing is, a lot of these Kickstarters came from this week, not the previous week, because I'm kind of combining 2 weeks of stuff. It's the idea, it's an original role-playing game setting that can be used with multiple systems. But it's the idea that, like, elves have a renaissance. That's the weird thing. Like, if I look at elves in Pathfinder and D&D and a lot of settings, like, especially those fantasy settings, elves are those, like, kind of unchanging, takes a long time to do things. So this idea that they all of a sudden have, like, a renaissance where things are changing rapidly with a very long-lived race is kind of interesting.
It is pretty cool. Like, there's so much you could do with elves.
Yeah.
To be honest.
That's true, because they are kind of that, like, the timeless, unchanging.
They're also dicks.
They are kind of dicks. And, you know, maybe a little bit more free thought and, like, you know, expression helps them become less dicks, you know, in their world.
So. Especially high elves, man. High elves are just assholes.
Mm-hmm. See, that's why I thought, like, when I saw this, I'm like, that's kind of a cool idea.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, they've unlocked some things with their Kickstarter. They've funded too. How long have they got? They got 25 days to go, just on the Kickstarter information.
Yeah.
So, honestly, just seemed cool.
Yeah. Neat idea. Neat idea.
Neat idea. And there was one last thing I want to talk about. It was another Kickstarter, but it was for a game that I like a lot, and I have played on the channel when we've done some Tabletop Simulator. Unfair is getting a big old expansion.
Neat.
So it's adding a bunch of add-ons, a solo mode, comic book, hacker, kaiju, ocean theme packs. There's a lot to unpack in this entire thing. There's apparently like a new front gate. Do you remember playing Unfair at all, or did you play with us?
I don't think I played with you, but I do know what Unfair is.
Okay, so like they have a lunatic lair as your park entrance, So basically, you can make like a theme park where like the Joker or something hangs out.
Nice.
There's a lot of other stuff that's like kind of
wacky.
It's wacky. Yeah, I guess that's the word to say it. It's like they're going a lot of weird directions and throwing out a lot of interesting stuff to try out. I mean, like, I do like the kaiju. Like, there's giant monsters you can have now.
You know?
Why? I don't understand this. This is like, it's just like, it's so weird ideas.
There's penguins.
I mean, that seems normal.
A mermaid.
Yeah. It's an animal upgrade. You can just add penguins to one of your things. Yeah. It's like, you have a ride, and there's penguins there. Or manta rays.
Yeah, manta rays. They're pretty silly looking.
Mm-hmm. Ah, God. Campaign stretch goals. Kickstarter sneak peek promo cards. So they're doing like fairy tale, legendary, steampunk, underground kind of sets that they're like looking that they're maybe doing on, and maybe they're doing stuff with add-ons with that. But I mean, I like Unfair. It's one that I've played a bunch of because Joe owns it. I played a bunch on done someone a Tabletop Simulator, but I'm actually, you know, honestly glad that they're doing more. Like,
yeah, it's always good when a good game gets more things.
And it's one of those games that, like, those games that have options in the way the game is played, I feel like need more options sometimes for more variety. It's like, per player, you get one theme that you'll be playing with in the course of the game. So you have to think of it that way. So when you have more theme options, it's sort of like Smash Up, like Small World.
Expands the experience.
Yeah, where you have these more options for things that can occur. It improves them. So, I'm glad to see, I guess as we said, a good game getting more.
Yep, it's always good when that happens.
Okay, shall we move on to, of course, a deeper discussion? So, I came up with this concept of a topic the other day, where it's, when you're a character, when you build a character for an RPG, usually you come up with a concept.
Yeah.
But the thing is, how do you play that concept? Can you play that concept the way you want it to?
Yeah, it can be really hard, and you can fuck it up pretty easily.
Well,
off
I will.
200 characters I've seen.
I will. Oh yeah, I will tell you. It came to mind after I had the second session of your Star Wars game. So the first session of the Star Wars game, I will admit, I had been having a headache that day. I'd been fighting like a pretty bad headache, and I was still not feeling great. And so it was sort of like, I'm playing my character, and I'm like, afterwards, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I was just doing a lot of stuff. I was like kind of almost on instinct for what the character had, and the character's abilities a lot more. I wasn't thinking along the lines of a lot of like the setting and stuff as much. Where in the second session, I'm actually kind of like finding, almost you have that voice of like how I play the character a little bit more.
Yeah.
And developing that. So, it's like, a concept on paper is a lot different than actually playing that concept.
It is, yeah. Like, I tend to do simple character concepts. I tend not to get too fancy with it. Sometimes you just, maybe it's just the day you're having a bad day, you're not feeling well, and you just can't translate your concept that well. And sadly, sometimes at important moments, if you can't do your concept well, that becomes your character.
Yeah. You have to be careful about, you know, even when you're feeling okay, you can still express things in the wrong way. Like, I'll have to admit, like, I'm always gonna bust on Joe for almost like, it was just the way I said things expressed my character to everybody else, and then no matter what I did, like, it was always that image was in their mind because I gave them that image of my character early on in a game he was running. You know, it's, I gave a way of, like, I just gave a description, like, just gave some information, I gave that expression, and, like, it was, because that's on, it's like a little different, but that's on the same coin, is like, you can give examples through description, through the ways you act, that give everybody else an idea, because it is a combination of how you act and how you displayed yourself to everybody else. And honestly, like, things like complex backstories or simple backstories that can help or hinder, like, so much.
Complex backstory can harm a character because if you make your backstory a little too complex, you can back yourself into a corner with how you are as a person. And unfortunately, I've seen someone do this once with a really cool concept, but his backstory was so specific, and they liked the backstory so much they didn't want to change as a character.
Mm-hmm.
It led to many sessions of no character growth and just being this angry person.
Yeah. It's you run into something with the character, and it's sometimes hard to get yourself out of that corner the way you've acted or planned for it, and I don't know. There's just so much that unfortunately can go wrong on the course of character development and creation.
That's why I tend to stick to more simple concepts that don't really expand upon more than like a sentence or two. Like, I'll use Cole as an example. He is a very simple character. He is an old man who has to deal with young people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the character.
Yeah. And honestly, keeping it that simple helps, and like you can kind of expand the backstory. I have to say, like, I can give good examples of a character that started simple and expanded more. My character, Tools, in Worms game. I love Tools as a character. Tools is an idiot and stupid. But, like, the character was fun, the adventure was fun. But Tools' backstory was develop it as I go. And oftentimes it was that character was kind of an extreme, because it was throw the craziest shit out there and see if it sticks. A little down from that is something like Badger. Badger was like silly to start out with and seemed like a kind of silly concept, but I played it very serious, and then like I added all these backstory things that, like, when people learn my backstory, they're like, this makes a lot of sense why you're kind of weird, you know?
Yeah. I loved Badger so much.
It took a while to develop that, though, but I tried to keep the way I played Badger always the same, I think.
Badger was a very strange person with a heart of gold. Yeah.
And I think that just that, like, concept of the heart of gold helped a lot, you know? It was like he was always trying to do the right thing or be a good person, even though, like, you know, he'd understand why people gave him funny looks. He probably didn't, you know?
Yeah, there's nothing weird about a tiny man with a badger on his head riding a big bird. That's perfectly normal.
I mean, like, honestly, where he came from, probably.
Gnomes are a little bit insane.
I was a forest gnome, setting. You know.
I don't know how insane forest gnomes are, but rock gnomes are very insane.
I feel forest gnomes are just kind of weird because they, like...
They're just freaks.
We all have we talk with tiny animals, so I'm sure we literally...
Yeah, that is a gnome thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and I think, I don't know if it's all gnome or just a forest gnome thing, so I just feel like they just live with a lot of different random animals all the time. So it's sort of like perfectly normal to be like, oh yeah, you know, just hanging out with his badger, you know?
Like, the most complicated character I played, like, concept-wise, was, Roland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a very, very... His character he had a lot that was going on.
Yeah.
And then one thing changed. And it was a small thing at first. And then I was like, I'm just going to go with this instead.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't established much at that point. And then the character got really weird. And it was a really fun character to play. Because I was like, I'm not going to really delve into all this tragic stuff. I'm just going to be a weirdo.
I think that's one of those things is you can kind of get that, a direction that can kind of occur as you're going along, and you don't know what that direction's going to be until you're there.
Yeah.
Like, it's honestly, the story helps in a direction for a character. Like, you can have, like, the idea of what your character's concept and how you're going to play them that would have been up until the point of the adventure, but that exposure to the adventure is going to have an effect on you no matter what.
I'll be honest, like, that character changed so drastically because only one person in the party was a decent person or a normal person. Marty is the only person that party was sane.
Like, I think Marty was probably my most complex character as of late. Maybe... I mean, like, my new Star Wars character has a little bit of complexity, too.
Complexity, yeah.
But, like, honestly, like, I don't know how much of that complexity will come up in the story.
It might not. Who knows?
And the thing is, like, my characters be fine either way, you know, kind of thing like that. Like, it's the same with, like, Marty had a kind of weird, complex backstory that, like, if you explain it, it's like, oh, that kind of makes sense for this kind of, like, weird setup. But, like, it was also a weird kind of setup. I've had others where we're just like, the unfortunate game where I was the Luxodon, I liked that game that kind of ended. Unfortunately, because, you know, we lost a couple of players for various reasons. But that character was interesting because all it was is, I'm a traveler and I decided to travel the world and, like, learn other cultures. That was it.
Like, the character I liked playing, her concept was pretty simple. She was this is 5e, so it wasn't like the class. She was an inquisitor for a sort of a religious order who was just disenfranchised with it, just like done with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole character.
Yeah.
That was a very simple concept that worked really well. And it fit pretty well into the story. Sadly, that game did fall apart due to scheduling issues. That's the way it goes sometimes.
It can be hard to keep games up sometimes, and I've had plenty of games that have fallen apart, honestly, so I can always understand it. I mean, there's the other end of the spectrum when it comes to complex backstories that, you know, even a complex backstory can work with a character and make the character better and easier to play. It can do the opposite, just like if you're too simple, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you're just kind of like winging it, you know?
You find it like nice in the middle.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty good at finding, I think.
Like, that's the thing is, like, my Luxodon had a really simple backstory. I kind of had to just figure out how I was going to play it during the session, because I really hadn't thought of that, because it's sort of like, I'm a traveler. Okay, we're done. You know?
I'll be honest. Like, a portion of Cole's character came from the simple fact that somehow these people were shocked that this 63-year-old man had a child. So I just kept adding children.
I mean, like, it's just the idea that, like, they're just, like, thinking, they're just, like, so shocked at you and your existence, and it's just, like, I don't understand it, too. I'm like,
how does this old man have a child? What? How is he married? Because they've never seen something normal. I'm assuming. They're just freaks.
They're just weirdos. They really are. Yeah. Their entire team has had... The most exposure to normality was Wintress's family, and Wintress was insane, though. So it's sort of like, how did Wintress come out of this, like, normal family? And then, like, they left that. Oh, God. No, they all have...
No, Cole's not that weird. Still. He's still the most normal person in the party.
Even, like, the weirdness that's now happened to him, it's not, like, super weird. It's like, oh,
Here's what's happened. Cole's getting younger, apparently. You know what that's done? It's just made him a hotter himbo.
And he also got a second sorcerer bloodline, which is like
mechanically better.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm just slightly better. Oh, that's kind of neat.
I can do more things now.
Yeah, it's like it's not even that like crazy. It's like, okay, that's kind of weird, but
Cole is. I did make Cole as a himbo. Yeah, he has 8 intelligence. He's not a smart man.
Uh-huh.
He's a bit of an idiot. But he's wise though. He has wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, did we canonically agree your wife was an elf? I don't remember that.
Yeah, she's an elf.
Yeah, so like, you know, your family is the source of like 90% of the half elves that exist in the world.
Yeah, like most half elves are because of Cole.
You and your wife are just for some reason really compatible.
Just able to make half elves. It's all the magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, like. I've enjoyed, you know, that kind of parts with the developing story, and again, like, I'll also say, as I was gonna say, like, I was talking a little bit about a game that I've been in the other day, my first, foray, mostly as a player, in D&D 3rd edition, where a friend of mine ran a big campaign, our first big campaign. Now, the thing about that was, my first character, I had insane the backstory.
Oh god.
I had like I forced us to start at 5th level because I wanted to play a drow rogue fighter sorcerer.
Oh my god. What the fuck, dude?
I'm the reason we started at 5th level. Now, like, Blaze took advantage of that because he had Trace, which is one of his best characters, which was because it's 3rd edition and there were savage species, he was an anthropomorphic cheetah cleric.
Nice.
And later on in the adventure, he was known for using his cheetah speed to spring attack over 600 feet away and then return to his original position. So he just zoom, spring attack, zoom.
I do like that. That is very funny.
So like out of nowhere, someone would just get smacked and be like, "What the fuck just happened?" Because I'm sorry, he's moving at 600 feet there, at 600 feet back. You're not going to know what hit you. But no, that character's backstory was like 4 pages, which I don't understand. I have no idea what the fuck my backstory was at this point in time.
Like,
there were also like demon shards or something related to that, or something or other. It was the most anime backstory without being an anime backstory.
I'm gonna learn Nat's backstory. I'm gonna get Nat to take the hood off.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll go drink mage blood together.
Mm-hmm. Then you go drink mage blood together. Stop drinking mage blood. You don't need that much.
What's great is I was originally gonna make a vampire for this game, so we both would have been drinking blood. I was gonna go with the weird grapple vampire build where you grapple and bite people.
I was telling Momo earlier, you should just buy scrolls, goddammit.
You don't have to drink the blood. You can just, like...
This
blood tastes like fireball.
Lightning bolts. Oh, God.
God. That's a freak.
I like it, though.
I actually really like it.
It's just so... I feel like that's the thing about this session that we had, is it did develop Nat's character a little bit more, and I think that's, I think like characters like Nat have a voice, but it's also sometimes hard to express that voice.
Yeah, you
don't have those opportunities, and I think that's another thing, is your opportunities to express your voice in a game is important too.
It gets hard to express your voice when I'll use Buccaneers as an example. Cell, Eric, Umber, they're loud players. They take a lot of talking time. Me and Lightning, we don't get to talk that much in that game.
Yeah. Now, granted, I think
it's not bad that they're loud players.
Yeah.
A lot of good and fun things that come from it. Lightning and I just don't get to do that much.
Well, I think it's sort of like, if you know, Cell made a face character, and you kind of need a face character.
If you make a face character, you're gonna be doing most of the talking. That's just how it works. I have played many face characters. In one of them, I just became the only player in that game, apparently.
Umber made... What's a really good way of describing... Umber's character. I don't want to say like what I was thinking of because it's
There's
accurate.
a word I could say, but it's accurate, but it's crass.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, mansloot. We'll go for mansloot.
Yeah, manslut.
He is exactly that.
He says, I'm imagining just slept with most of the ship at this point.
Yes. And then, like, Eric is a very bolsterous person, and then, like, I like the difference that Yakul is just, like, he says, like, 3 words.
He says 3 words, and then he goes smashing.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yakul might be one of my favorite characters I've ever played with. Because, like, he's just an idiot. It's
Eric's
amazing.
character in the Star... We'll have to talk about Eric's character in the Star Wars game.
We'll have to talk about that one.
That was so great. Oh my god, I loved that guy who was there for a session and then died.
We'll get to him later.
But, like, yeah. I think it's just... I think one of the things I have to give for advice for people is don't worry too much about it. Yeah. When you're trying to find that voice that you want to have, just kind of be simple about it maybe at first, and then kind of let yourself a little bit come into it.
The thing about Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and all of these systems, they take many, many sessions to get done with, unless you're doing a one-shot. If you're doing a one-shot, you don't really have much of a concept to develop. You're just mostly playing a silly character. That's what one-shots are.
Yeah.
But over the course of a campaign, you have time to find your character. So you can keep it very simple in the beginning.
Use your concept to give it a basic idea, but don't sweat too much stuff early on. Kind of like, just let your voice develop, I guess, is the way to say it. And I think that's one of those things a lot of people want to be the character they want to be quickly, and that's not good for you because, again, the campaign might change that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, a lot of my characters don't really ever get changed that much because I make mostly simple characters, and I just go with the flow of the campaign to develop them.
Yeah. It's sort of like I already had an idea because of like a semi-complex backstory for the Star Wars game, but already the story feels like I want to know more because like I feel like I could go a couple of different directions with how my character is with this story we've already hit, and that's going to have like a kind of effect on me already, you know.
Yeah.
And so like it's helping me find a voice, and that's, you kind of have to like let it do that, I guess. So I mean, it's difference between, you know, like some reckless actions and like forgetting that you have a plasma cutter and like, you know, actually like looking at your equipment that like you spent money on. Look, I didn't spend money on a lot of stuff, but I have a lot of like, you know, just general equipment.
Know, like it's pretty important to know what equipment you have.
I had rope at least. I remember that.
Everyone has rope. It turns out no matter what like genre you're playing in, rope always useful.
Yeah. Just remember having some rope. You should have some
rope. You could have rope if you want to. You could go buy rope at the Jawa store.
Mm-hmm. Also, you got to recruit a fighter that's probably higher level than you to guard some place.
Yeah, we have to do that.
I don't know how high a level you're looking for. Honestly, you're going to a big city. You could find someone that's pretty powerful.
That's someone who has to do the charisma. That's not me. I have 11 charisma now because I have a headband.
Mm-hmm. But will you eat all the Jawas and drink their rat person blood?
Oh, there are rat people.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I mean, again, like, at least they've canonized some of that rat people stuff or something. I don't know. Anyway, regardless, yeah.
Playing nerd plating. Play a Chad instead.
Play Chad.
Play a Chad.
So
play a Chad necromancer.
No, that was the thing. Is like, I honestly was as a side thing, I was thinking of doing, once the new Stellaris update comes out, doing a single player game on my channel here there's a weird side to necromancers, and make a horse species and call them necro horses, even though they're not necromancers, and make it inward perfection. Because we talked about inward perfection probably good in single player, but like try out the new building tall versus building wide mechanics with the new update.
Turns out Stellaris likes to put a lot of necromancers in the galaxy. One of them were horses.
Necro horses. Everybody hated the necromancer. I was fine with the necromancer horses because I was inward perfection and couldn't care whatsoever.
You couldn't care. You weren't allowed to care.
I mean, what's that supposed to be later on this week? Well, Eric's not going to be around, so we'll probably test it out.
Probably. If the update's like next week or some shit.
Yeah.
That's when we could probably play because we'll have Eric.
I mean, yeah, a lot of stuff coming out. It's a nice week. But what? Yeah. So we had 2 weeks of gaming.
We did have some gaming.
Did you have any Sunday-based games?
I did have, I think, one Sunday-based game, I think. We killed mages, a lot of them, specifically 3 of them, and took their heads for money.
Wow, that's pleasant.
They were interesting fights. I hate fighting mages in most systems. Magic is bullshit.
Yeah, it can be, definitely.
It's hard to play a mage correctly because sometimes you like want to just do a lot of escape stuff, and then your players can't really do anything because you're just teleporting away every turn.
Yeah.
But it was mostly fine. We did that, and the party learned I'm a necromancer.
Ooh.
And we're currently on a quest to get a weirdly specific spell component, a gilded skull worth specifically 300 gold, so I can summon some undead, because they've all for some reason agreed that that's a good idea.
You can summon some undead for us, right? Yes. That's a great idea. We'll do that. Excellent.
Like a necromancer, you know? That's fine.
But you have to be like, excellent. That's a great idea. That's a wonderful idea. Let me just rub my fingers together. Don't worry about it.
I think it's sad playing like a necromancer in 5e because there's not really a lot of cool necromancy spells.
That was one of those things. Is like, I'll say like, last night I did have a couple of dreams, and one of the dreams gave me a really cool idea for an RPG setting. The thing is, it would need like it would revolve around something with necromancers, and the problem is 5e does not do necromancy well.
5e necromancers have like 3 spells in 5e.
Yeah,
Animate Dead is kind of garbage. Light is cool, and you can summon undead, but you need a really weird specific material component for it.
Yeah. And I just don't know how, like, something like I know how Pathfinder 1st edition would work. I don't know how Pathfinder 2nd edition would work.
Yeah, I don't know necromancy in 2nd edition. I know Pathfinder 1st edition has, like, a lot of necromancy spells. And necromancy is actually pretty fucked up in 1st edition.
Yeah. You can play it well as a concept, at least.
Yeah. You can't really do that in 5e, which is a shame.
Yeah. But yeah, sounds like an interesting Sunday. Any Monday games? It would have been 2 weeks worth of Monday games.
No, I don't do anything on Mondays.
Well, we had the 2 weeks of Star Wars.
We did have 2 weeks of Star Wars. I run a Star Wars game. It's pretty cool. We've got whatever the hell you are. I don't remember what your species is called.
Powin.
They're the dude. It's the dude that Obi-Wan talks to who's really tall in Episode 3, and he's got like the lines on his face.
Yes.
That guy. Also the Grand Inquisitor in Rebels.
Yeah.
That's probably a better reference than a single scene from an okay movie.
Mm-hmm. We've shown up other places, but like...
We've got an Imperial pilot who has not given their name. They're just the imp.
Mm-hmm.
A Gungan who is the most non-Gungan I've ever seen, and I kind of like that.
He's just a fish dude that's been raised on a desert planet.
He's a fish man who was raised on Tatooine.
I guess he's a frog man technically, because
they're frogs.
Yeah.
They're also dumb, and I hate them. And then we got a Devonian.
Yeah,
the people with horns, and they're basically demons.
Yeah, the demon people.
But you just got into a bar fight and decided to just execute people who were unconscious.
I didn't. I'm going to say that.
A little weird, dude.
I didn't. I'm going to say.
Yeah, so I have like blasters have like a because I secret rolls. Blasters have like a 20 or 30% chance to just outright kill someone. Because when you're shot with a blaster, you don't always die in Star Wars. A lot of people don't die in Star Wars. That's the thing. And plasteel armor helps with not dying.
Yeah.
Some people decided to just execute these guys. It's a little weird, but you left one alive to send a message.
Look, I'm gonna say for my character, I wouldn't execute them, but I'm also like in a position where I would not stop them.
I don't think anyone on most planets who doesn't like the Empire would care.
Yeah, like I have my own reason for not liking the Empire, very honestly.
But yeah, you killed some quote unquote stormtroopers. They're kind of shit. And then you got hired by an old dude to go steal some shit, and he fought some old battle droids and killed them.
Yep.
And you found some things in a dead guy. And then the next session, the best goddamn character I've ever seen showed up.
Oh my god.
Eric. Eric was a guest player for last session. And he just made this old dude who was like this super, quote unquote, super cool bounty hunter. But he wasn't. He was just an old dude who was gonna fucking die and really good at lying.
He was a moisture farmer.
He's just a farmer who was just like was gonna die. So he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna lie and just go be a mercenary for a little bit.
Oh man.
And then it's like his reaction to getting shot was so good. His reaction to killing people was so good because he's never done these things before. You guys like assaulted a little base where people were at, and he killed all of them. And then the old man sat in a chair and died. And I don't think anyone actually expected that character to die, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was like that. Was like, oh shit, man, he died.
I actually just died.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think all of us are like, when we saw that he was dying, he's like, he was in it for one last hurrah, one last adventure.
I hope he just never learned that he's actually just a fucking farmer.
Yeah, I know. We're thinking of him as like this, like, you know, brave, like, bounty hunter man that, like, you know,
badass hero, moisture farmer
who was going out and like just wanted for one last hurrah and decided to go with us.
Yeah,
man.
You know. You killed all of them, and you found some things. Specifically, you found some stormtroopers in black armor. That's weird. Those shouldn't exist anymore. You captured a dude who was a clone. Also weird and shouldn't exist anymore.
So there's some weird stuff. There's a clone and some purge troopers.
You also
know.
got to ride on some giant lizard boys.
Yeah. They were good giant lizards.
They were.
Look.
You did steal a cool gun. I have to write up what that gun does. I will tell you, it shoots actual bullets.
Ooh.
Not a laser, because those exist in Star Wars, apparently. I didn't know they had actual guns in Star Wars. I just thought they had lasers.
Like, kinetic weapons, I've heard of from something, but I think it's a rarity now.
Yeah,
you know?
they're like super rare. I didn't know they existed, because they don't show up in the movies, or really any of the games. To my knowledge. I've only played the Old Republic games.
Yeah.
And Battlefront.
I think it's a lot of, like, books and the comics that show us.
Yeah.
There's surprisingly a lot of weird shit in the comics that they've done lately.
Yeah, the comics got weird, apparently.
And it's Marvel published, and Marvel's also owned by Disney, so
yeah.
It's all canon.
But yeah, you found a broken rifle, and killed some purge troopers. Well, one specifically, and then you captured a dude.
You captured?
You're gonna go take him to a hut.
We are gonna go take him to a hut because honestly, you know, it's you know, get on the good side of the crime lord that controls the planet or the area of the planet we're in.
Yeah, he doesn't control the planet,
but the area of the planet. I mean, yeah. Sounds like a good idea.
Pretty good idea. Also, you learned the guy hiring you can use the Force.
Yes, which makes me like, honestly, freaking, I don't know what I'm going to do with that information. I haven't quite decided, like, what I want to, I guess, talk to those two people about, because honestly, like, how much are they still in with the order? Because I feel like I've washed my hands of it kind of at this point in time. You know? I don't think, like, the idea of being an okay person has left me, but I'm, like, a little more hesitant to help out a lot of times.
He is a crime lord, to be fair.
Yes, he is a crime lord, too. So it's sort of like the idea of, like, I probably am, like, I also think that probably I spend a lot of time, because I'm on the Outer Rim now, I might have gone into some of the wild space or, like, unknown territories for a while, just to, you know, escape, and maybe that's where I kind of, like, found my balance. Because, for people that don't know, I'm playing someone that's balancing between light and dark powers now. We're trying to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go...
That game's progressing interestingly. You found some items, you found a weird Sith statue, you got a pyramid, you killed some troopers.
Because the thing is, like, I honestly don't think I'd be that interested either way in, like, the Sith stuff at this point in time. Sith are dead, and, like, honestly, like, if I'm feeling like both Jedi and Sith went too far onto one direction or the other, like, a holocron of information on either side just feels like it's doving into information that, you know, you unbalanced yourself anyway. I guess. Balanced force. I don't know. But, that was
that game.
Then we had 2 sessions of Buccaneers? Yeah, we had 2.
Did have 2 sessions.
We had the one where you met with people at Tidewater Rock, and Cell got political married to a nice lady.
Cell did get married. Congratulations to Cell.
Yeah. I hope they'll be very happy together in their political marriage.
Yep, definitely.
About
some fish people.
Yep.
Some Swaggin.
Swaggin?
Yeah, Swaggin. That's how you say it.
Sorry, I'm just swagging. I'm just swagging with the swagging.
Yeah, so, like, that was a thing.
And then some pirates attacked, and you beat the shit out of them pirates.
God, was she empowering her spells, by the way?
No.
So, I think you read the spell wrong.
Which one?
Vampiric Touch. It feels like she was doing more dice than she should have, because it's 1d6 per 2 caster level.
Oh, then I might have been rolling more.
Yeah, you were rolling a little too much.
I must have missed
I didn't realize that until I looked at the spell the next day. So, like, that's a good spell. That feels a little too strong.
It's per 2 caster. I saw the maximum 10d6.
You did the spell wrong.
Yeah, I was rolling a lot more damage than I should have.
That worked out fine, though.
Yeah.
It was very amusing to just, I mean, I didn't have the most fun because I was having a real bad mood that day because I had a real shit day at work. But everyone else had fun, it looked like. That was cool.
I mean, Umber almost died. And honestly speaking, like, the rolls I had could have killed him.
I would have executed Umber if I was the DM. Just to send a message.
I feel...
Take one with me.
That's the thing is, like, I thought about doing that because I was like, in her character, what would she have done? And I feel like she is very chaotic evil. So it's like killing some of them, yeah, that's kind of good, but like everybody's kind of wounded and down, and like, you know, and the healers are unconscious and stuff except for the one, and so it's sort of like, who do you choose to save? Kind of thing, you know.
Turns out we could save everyone.
Yeah, you could save everyone. That's fine. They didn't do they could have done more damage to like make it a little bit more.
I got max damage by a magic missile and almost died.
Yeah.
I was one turn away from dying because there was no way I was making that save.
So it was like it was you that was really the one that was on.
It was
edge.
Mostly me that was probably gonna die, but then someone shoved a potion down my throat.
Yeah. I mean, like, you all got the shit beat out of you by Sorcerer Leader.
We won, and then someone drank her blood.
Yep, someone drank her blood and learned invisibility.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if only you could have learned higher level spells. You could have learned Lightning Bolt and had unlimited power.
Yeah, you don't have unlimited power, unfortunately.
No.
Can't. True, I can't leave you with them.
It would just been Nat and Yakul's adventures again.
It really would have if three of the parties. I would have had to like miss a session because I don't know if I would have had enough brain power to make a character again.
Yeah, God, that would have been
a lot to make a Pathfinder character.
Oh, and the arguing faces would have been gone. Man.
Yeah, I probably would have just made a charisma character. I would have just made the sorcerer. I would have just made the blaster sorcerer.
It's perfectly fine.
I would have just become the face of the party.
I mean, that's what this lady was a blaster sorcerer mostly.
Yeah. I mean, that should teach people that, yeah, hey, sorcerers are, like, really fucking strong in Pathfinder.
Yeah. She just tanked a lot of stuff and spelled. I think there might have been a couple of spells that I was forgetting about that she had on her or something, but honestly, like, I think I kept hold of most of them. It's like,
for the most part, yeah, the session went pretty well.
That's a complaint I do have about Pathfinder First Edition. Yes, if you can prep and cast a lot of spells on yourself, it causes issues in trying to remember what all the fuck they do.
Like, the other thing is, like, I can understand forgetting spells, because I've seen a Pathfinder First Edition NPC sheet. They're not the easiest to read. Mm-hmm. They're a little bit of a mess.
And they're like, especially spellcasters, like, here's all the buffs they put on themselves before they do stuff.
Here's everything they cast before combat. Keep track of it.
Yeah. Fucking God. Yeah. But yeah, no, the battle went very well. You had victory, cool. You're gonna go get some more guards for Tidewater Rock, and then head to Mancatcher Cove, and then loot some along the way. And you're heading to Port Peril, and I don't know if it's gonna be a full session next week. It depends on how things go with Port Peril and stuff. Honestly,
I'll be honest. I can fluff time at Port Peril pretty easily. Okay. I don't know about the rest.
Certainly, yeah. Hey, if you want to fluff some time, I'm okay with that. Doing some characters.
I can 100% fluff some time in Port Peril.
Because, like, I'm just going to assume kind of it'll be the easy journey to Mancatcher Cove will be kind of at the end of the session to lead into Eric, because he's going to be off this week.
Yeah, I already know Revia's going to be talking. That's the whole character. Yeah, we're going to go gun shopping, and then we're going to go shoot Quentin. For target practice.
I mean, he might take that in a certain kind of way. Giggity?
He can take... I mean, he can take it however he wants. When he's a corpse, he's going overboard.
Just kill him. Kill him.
I need money, so I can make my better gun. But money's hard to get.
And then, did we have both weeks of Children of Wrath, right?
We did. I also run a game on Thursdays.
You do have your game.
Did we have both weeks of My Game Lightning? Kind of all blends together when you're in a dungeon.
Ooh, dungeon.
Yeah, okay, we did have the first week. Okay. They've been exploring this dungeon. I had them do some very simple puzzles. They didn't understand one of them, and I had to give like more hints. Although the other one was a little more abstract, to be fair. It did involve having to challenge a statue to a duel to get it to move to the side. Not the easiest thing to figure out. One of the puzzles I was going to make harder, but was a meme. I just had like a couple of gemstones, and you just pressed them in the order, and the order was like... They started with various letters, and the combination for the door was open. So you just had to press them in that order. And I just decided I could make this door puzzle hard, but I don't care enough. They've been traveling through, killing a lot of shit. That was the first session. Second session of that dungeon, they went down to the spooky basement. For some reason, this party, understandably, has given up on stealth, because everyone's in heavy armor. However, the cleric and the fighter knock on every door before entering it because they're stupid, so they just are constantly getting surprise round.
God.
Which is hilarious. But they fought a lady in the dungeon, who I thought was pretty interesting. Anytime she would go down to 0 HP, she would melt away and inhabit a nearby corpse with half of her HP, and she could do that 6 times. So they had to she had low HP but could do a lot of damage, and she would just keep splitting into multiple copies of herself every time one died until there was nothing left for her to split into.
Jeez.
And then she died. I downed the cleric because that's if you're playing a villain correctly and they have knowledge of magic in the world, they know what a cleric is. they will probably target a healer. And she is very ruthless, but she isn't dead, maybe. I don't know. That's for later to find out. They got a cool sword. It's made of blood. She had a blood sword. I was gonna do a cool thing where, like, she could, as a bonus action, change her weapon into, like, anything. And then I realized, at the start of the fight, why wouldn't I just change it to a greatsword? That's statistically the best weapon for her. And that's the problem with fighting. Weapons aren't cool.
Yeah.
There's like 3 really good ones. But yeah, it's a weapon as a bonus action. You can expend a hit die and you can change what weapon it is, which I think is pretty cool because hit die don't honestly have that much use in Paizo. But yeah, they did that, and then they went and slept for a little bit because they got pretty beat up. Specifically, one person got beat up. The dwarf I downed because he deserves it. He has 19 AC, and I'm punishing now. He has 19 AC, and I gave him like a cloak of protection, and he was like, "I want the cloak of protection." I'm like, "You already have too much AC, buddy. And give it to someone who has less, please. Give it to one of the people who have 16 AC. They need it."
Jeez.
But yeah, it's basically just a lot of dungeon delving.
Cool.
I also found a demon suspended in animation. I have to kill it eventually.
Yeah. We had Children of Wrath then.
We did have Wrath.
And you finished up awakening a super Draco Lich, because that was the thing they decided to do. And made peace with it?
Kind of. It kind of just left.
It kind of just left, because it was like... it was more like, I don't know what the fuck I am, and I don't want anything to do with you. You know? And then, some things happened to all of you that were not great, and now you're on your way to Shiv.
Karen's still a demon, right?
Yeah, she hasn't changed back yet. Yeah, no. That's a thing that hasn't happened. You know, a lot of
lost all of his toys, and they changed into weird things.
Look, I gave him an item that can't be used for stupidity. It can sort of be used for stupidity, but it helps an area.
You took the nuke away.
I took the nuke away and gave him, like, a land refresh.
A Gek from Fallout.
Yeah, I gave him a Gek, because I feel like he can cause destruction with that, but it's good destruction in a way. It refreshes the landscape, and I'm like...
You know, it'll fix things.
I'm like, yeah, sure, you might be able to use it to have, like, a volcano erupt on Shiv, but you know what happens a lot on Shiv? Volcanoes erupt.
Yeah. Also, like...
you know...
There's a weird demon man on the ship now.
Yeah!
Who, I'll be honest, from the way he speaks, Cole, with his 8 intelligence, is like, that dude's into some shit. I'm not gonna judge him.
He probably is.
That dude's a simp.
Yeah, it kind of is. I will not deny that. Look, he's free. He's having some fun. He may or may not steal some souls, like you know, of people you kill.
I mean, that's fine. They're dead. They don't get their souls.
Yeah. You know, things like that. Those old chestnuts.
Yeah, exactly.
But it'll be just all the greatest adventures you're going to be having with your new friends.
We just collected a bunch of NPCs as we left Yavimea.
I mean,
we've got Radiant, right? She came along.
She's at least coming along for now. I might have her head off again.
We've got Cyborg Child.
She'll probably stick with you, honestly.
Demon. And we have an electric goldfish that follows us around.
You do have an electric goldfish. It's actually technically a really big fish. I don't think I described how big it was. It's like 10 feet long.
And no one can talk to it.
It just sits there and goes blah, blah, blah. You know, it's because it was originally a gun owned by you people. It is technically loyal to you, but it's just a fish.
It is just a fish.
So it's just hanging around the boat now.
We just have a big electric fish.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if something attacks the boat, it might help out.
Yep.
Look, I like my electric fish. I thought it was an interesting concept.
It's very funny. The things that the bag stuff was pretty funny.
Yeah.
All the items turned into.
I like the sickle is now a scythe.
The sickle's a scythe. Like goldfish in a ball turned into something weird?
It was a clockwork goldfish and a glass ball. Now it's a clockwork ball with a seemingly immortal goldfish in the middle of it.
Also, a petrified crossbow. I don't think that's going to function anymore.
What was it? The Dungeoneer's pack, half of it's gone, the other half's that of a Diplomat's pack or something. It's just it's like, what the fuck happened with all this stuff? Look, they mess with reality.
That's what happens when you mess with reality.
And I mean, like, I honestly, this is one of those issues that I've had with the bag of holding. It is a pocket dimension that is pag. How stupid has it always been? Like, if they specifically say if you puncture it, bad shit happens.
Yeah, bad things do happen if you break a bag of holding.
I'm like, it's like a staple for adventurers, but I'm like, it's just such a terrible idea in the concept of it because
it's really dangerous.
So I'm finally like just tell them like, yeah, it seems like it was a bad idea to do this kind of design in the first place.
Yeah, it's a cloth bag containing a dimension.
Yeah. Turns out, not a great idea.
No, the cloth's not very strong. Who could have thought?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's something normal D&D players should, like, know about, but, like, honestly, it's one of those things that everybody passes over. It's like, it's just
it's why I decided to never hold the bag of holding.
Mm-hmm.
It's always someone else's problem.
I mean, we specifically, me, Lightning, Blaze, are in a game where we did the bag of holding and a portable hold trick.
We killed a god with one.
We killed a god with one. Granted, it was a depowered god, but still. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. Look, they were vulnerable to bag of holding.
It's the one weakness.
Mm-hmm.
You have a handy haversack. It's a little different.
But, yeah.
Technically better than a bag of holding, despite being cheaper.
Yeah, I'll agree on that one. Is an advantage of, like, drawing things very easily from it.
Yeah.
But, no. Did you have anything on a Friday?
I do have a Friday game. I think we had 2 games. Maybe. Or did we just have 1 game, Lightning? I'm relying on you for this one. We had 1 game, okay. I wasn't crazy. I didn't forget an entire game. We had a lot of talking, basically. We're heading to a town to meet with some people who have been attacked by undead, because we're investigating that. And we have a super powerful ancient mage on our ship who we gave a bunch of blood and woke up. That's fine. And she was like, hey, I can deal with your undead problem. Just give me a lot of power and I'll just delete magic from the world, and then there will be no more undead. And it's technically a solution, I guess. It would work, but it would be really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the best solution to things.
No, that doesn't sound like a really great solution, but you could do it.
There's a timeline where it happens because I'm building a setting for it, so it will happen, but not in this game. And that was basically the whole session. We just had a lot of conversations on our boat trip. The dark timeline. We just had a lot of conversations, basically. That was kind of it. We interrogated our captain, who, out of character, has a demon in their spellbook, but doesn't want to tell anyone there's a demon in the spellbook. Which, I mean, makes sense. You don't want to tell people about that.
Yeah.
The book gave that character Summon Lesser Demon, I'm pretty sure. And that's a bad spell to have in this world. Demon summoning is very frowned upon, and by frowned upon I mean punishable by execution.
Ooh. That old chestnut.
That's the game. It was a lot of talking. It was fun.
So, and I don't know if I didn't have anything on a Saturday. I don't know if you had anything on a Saturday.
No, I didn't have anything. I was gonna have something on Saturday night, but the DM has to work tonight, so it's pushed back to next Saturday.
All right. Well, I think that was our week in tabletop. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah, 2 weeks in tabletop. We did things, had fun,
Is that the end of the topic?
killed monsters.
Yep, had adventures. So, hey, thank you for joining us, everybody, today. We had some interesting topics to talk about here. Some things you might want to check out. Certainly, I would say, like, if any of the Kickstarters or any of that other stuff interests you, check it out yourself, you know, get your opinions. We talk about a lot of stuff here, but certainly there's always a lot of, you know, whatever you like or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Can't mention everything on this show.
No.
Some of it.
God, I try to mention the most interesting of topics, but there is so much stuff out there a lot of times.
A lot happens in the tabletop space.
God, it's a big time for it. So, I might be streaming a game tomorrow morning. I don't know. If not, I will probably be doing something on Monday, as I usually do. That'll probably be like, honestly, Final Fantasy 2. I'm gonna try to maybe finish that up.
Yeah.
I farmed a bunch for like abilities and levels and stuff, and honestly, like, as much as, like, the only one that I would kind of think would be cool would be getting like Ultima to max level, because it's the big ultimate spell, and it kind of looks...
It is the ultimate spell. It's in the name.
It's kind of like... It already looks kind of cool looking at like 10, because like all big like doom explosion, and it really does a lot of damage, so I can just like nuke enemies.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I will or not, because that... Honestly, that takes a long time. I was doing a bit of, like, a little bit of grinding, and I'm like, because I said I was going to do it off stream. And
That's the thing with old Final Fantasy. It's a lot of grinding.
honestly, like, I didn't need to grind. I grinded a little bit the first episode, and then after that, I'm like, there was nothing problems. Like, the grinding I did not need to do. I was, like, killing everything pretty well. I was creating my own issues a lot.
True.
So, yeah. It's a thing. But expect more Pathfinder Kingmaker. Expect Buccaneers of the Shackled Sea. We will be on schedule for 8 p.m. as long as we don't lose anybody else. If something happens with anybody else, we'll just take a week off, honestly. And then Children of Wrath, where they'll be going to Shiv on next Thursday at 9 p.m. EST. This show back next week at around 2 p.m. EST. And if there's anything else I'll add to the schedule, check it out. Yeah, Pixel Remasters are very much less grindy.
Yeah, they're like modern convenience.
Like,
they have a lot of those.
I watched, because I wanted to learn more about like what I'm supposed to do in Final Fantasy 2. I finally watched a video about like some of the basic storyline, and they also were making comments about how grindy it was. So I'm like, wow, you know, they fixed a lot of this grindy shit that was in it.
I remember Final Fantasy 2 being like really grindy.
Yeah,
I also didn't like Final Fantasy 2.
It's better without less grind, but it still has some
so.
issues. Like,
It's old.
a lot of fetch questiness, and also a lot of like, go to this place, and I'm like, great! Where is that place?
Yeah, that's a problem it has.
Because they give you pretty much the entire world map, and the only difference is 2 of the areas just murder the shit out of you right away.
Yep.
That was it. So I was like exploring everywhere right away.
Good old Final Fantasy.
It'll be interesting for 3 and beyond, though. That'll be
yeah.
improvements. As I said, I'm planning on doing most of them eventually. So, anyway, maybe another game somewhere in there too. And as I think I said, I might do a Stellaris game where I'm doing the once the new update comes out, just to do an Inward Perfection, where I'm trying to experiment with building tall, because they're supposed to be different than building wide now. We'll see. Thanks for joining. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hopefully see you next week. And thank you for joining Momo as usual.
Yeah, no problem.
Bye.
Bye.